Dave Pearson smiled contentedly as he looked at his office door. It was late Friday night, and the happy working family was buzzing with excitement in anticipation of the weekend. He was proud of all 33 employees of his company in suburban Philadelphia. Among them that day was his wife, Linda. She did the bookkeeping, working mostly from home, but often came in on Fridays to give paychecks and keep in touch with the team. The company's top salesman, Dave's brother, Rich, was also here as he had completed his sales this week. Dave smiled with pride as he watched his family and employees merge into a powerful team, making the company a well-oiled machine. Dave was truly blessed. The only pity was that his euphoria didn't last long. Dave's pleasant musings were interrupted by a knock on the door of his office manager, Hannah Kemp. "Boss, I'm finishing up work and getting ready to head home. I was wondering if I could bring something for tomorrow's pork roast?" "Hi, Hannah. What's all this boss nonsense? You really are the boss of this place." "Damn right I am. So can I get you anything?" "I think Linda's got it under control." Noticing his wife nearby, Dave called out to her loudly, "Honey, do you have a minute?" Pretending to look around the room with a drawn, surprised smile, Linda cheekily replied, "Honey, you mean me?" "Who else would I mean, smartass?" All three laughed as Linda joined them. Dave took the opportunity to keep the conversation going. "Hannah and I were just discussing who the real boss is around here." "Everyone knows Hannah runs the place," Linda said with a smirk. "And," Hannah added, "everyone knows Linda wears pants at home, don't they, Dave?" "I refuse to answer that question because I'm sure I'd get in trouble." "Smart move, babe. Besides, Hannah, our relationship works best when neither of us is wearing pants." "Whoa, guys, this isn't serious," Linda replied. "The way you two walk around holding hands, kissing and making eyes at each other is bad enough." Linda blushed and Dave replied, "I'm proud that we're still on our honeymoon after 17 years of marriage. I've been very lucky in love." Linda gasped, her lips quivering with excitement and a cute crooked smile on her face. "Isn't he cute?" "Yes, he is," Hannah agreed. "Before you two decide to get a room, I just wanted to see if I could bring anything tomorrow." "Oh," Linda said, coming out of her love days. "Thanks for the offer, but we've got it covered. Do we know exactly how many people from the company are coming tomorrow?" Hannah looked at the clipboard she was holding. "Looks like 28 employees, 26 immediate family members, and 31 children." Linda did a quick mental calculation. "Okay, that's 85 people plus our family. The restaurant makes food for 120 people, so we'll have enough. Speaking of relatives, Miss Hannah, are you bringing anyone?" Hannah forced herself to smile before answering. "No, I'm alone." "Come on, girl, you're young and hot. We have a friend from church who's perfect for you." "Linda, don't do this to me, okay?" Linda started to answer when Dave interrupted her. "Honey, leave Hannah alone. She's a big girl now." "I know, but—" "Linda!" The look on Dave's face spoke more powerfully than his words. "Okay, I'm sorry, Hannah. You know it comes from love, don't you?" "Yes, I know," she replied. There were so many more things Hannah wanted to say, but those secret words never came off her lips. Walking hand in hand across the parking lot, Dave and Linda were anticipating one of their favorite traditions and the busy weekend ahead. Dave asked the obvious question. "Did you make reservations?" "Yes, of course. You get the Mongolian beef, Allie gets the General Tso's chicken, and I'll try the Happy Family seafood platter." "Great. I could guess Allie's order. She always does that." "Look who's talking. I wouldn't be surprised if you turned into a Mongol." "Very funny. Did they bring you an assortment of appetizers too?" "Of course." They got in the car and drove home. A few minutes had passed when Linda noticed that her usually talkative husband had suddenly become taciturn and with a sort of detached expression on his face. "Something wrong, kiddo?" Pulling himself away from his thoughts, Dave answered uncertainly. Uh, uh, well, not really." "What's going on, Dave? Come on, honey, we're sharing everything, aren't we?" "Sure, it's just—" "You're bothering me." "Oh," he said with a chuckle. "It's just— well, a while ago I was just reflecting on how wonderful everything is in my life and I started thinking about tonight." "You mean our usual Chinese movie night?" "Yes. Friday night is the highlight of my week. I eat my favorite food and then get cozy with my two favorite girls on the couch and watch some movie. Allie is 15 now. She seems to be growing up so fast that soon our little family will consist of just the two of us. What do you mean, just the two of us? She'll still be our little girl. She'll always be our sweet daughter, that's for sure. But a little girl. In a year or two, our Friday night tradition will be date night for her. Then college, and soon she'll be on her own. It'll just be the two of us. That's the curse of parenthood, baby. Kids grow up. I know, but I don't have to like it. Well, look at it this way. When it's just the two of us, this could turn into a Chinese movie night. Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. Next chapter. Dave and Linda walked through the front door to a joyous Allie, who was hugging her father. Their dog Banjo barked happily and then ran to investigate the bags of food that had fallen to the floor from Allie's ebullient greeting. I did it, Daddy. I got an A+ on my geometry exam. I told you it was going to be okay, didn't I? I didn't believe you, but you were right. She kissed her father on the cheek and her mother looked at her with pride in her eyes. Linda knew Allie was Daddy's little girl, and she was fine with that. She remembered having the same relationship with her late father and would never deny either of them this blessing in life. Dinner passed in lively conversation. When they finished and cleared the table, they retired to the family room to enjoy the best part of Dave's week. Dave asked, "Whose turn is it to pick today?" "Mine," Allie replied. "I picked the old comedy you mentioned that I haven't seen." Dave laughed. "An old one? What, from 2015? I thought you were going to pick the next John Wick movie after my choice last week." "Oh God, no," Linda exclaimed. "No body count movies today." Dave didn't want to leave the subject out. "Allie, how many dead bodies were there last week?" "Dad, I lost count after 100. Anyway, this week we're watching Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Sound okay?" They sat on the couch, Dave in the middle, with the two women he loved leaning on each shoulder. The word woman wouldn't get out of his head. Allie was only 15, but she was already a young woman. He tried his best to enjoy this night, but the thought of a future without her under his roof kept him uneasy. That was what he feared more than anything. Dave's brother, Rich, and his wife, Sonia, arrived early in the morning to help prepare for the big meeting. Their large property with the pool had many things for the guests to do, all of which required cleaning and preparation. Sonia and Allie worked inside, while Linda, Rich, and Dave worked outside. Dave was removing leaves from the pool when he felt a familiar rumble and decided he needed to deal with it. "Hey, honey, I need to go inside to take my morning constitution." "Okay," she snapped back. "Just don't stink up the guest powder room. Allie just cleaned it, and she'll be pissed." Dave entered the house and started to go up to the bedroom, but then changed his mind. The unfinished basement had its own restroom and there was no risk of polluting the public areas with his legendary stench. He entered the tiny room, and the musty basement odor hit his nostrils. He opened the small, high-paned window for ventilation. He had a habit of leaving the room in the dark for his morning routine, because he liked to close his eyes and let his mind wander wherever it wanted. Thus, the morning ritual often took 15 minutes or more. Dave sat down at his desk to take care of business, closed his eyes, and noticed the fresh sense of spring filling the room. He was already beginning to sink into his thoughts when he heard shuffling and whispering voices outside the window. The window faced the side of the house and was hidden by the foundation plantings. He strained to hear what was going on. "Rich, Dave can catch us." Dave easily recognized Linda's voice and felt something else stirring in his gut. "No, he won't catch up to us. He'll be at least 10 minutes away." "What the hell is this emergency?" "Listen, the boys brought home questionnaires from school requesting permission to take a DNA test. Did Allie's school do that?" "Not that I know of." "Oh, shit." "Yes, oh shit. Did you ever find out if I'm Allie's father?" Dave felt like he'd been hit in the stomach by a cannonball. He fought the urge to vomit and tried his best not to react. "No, I was really hoping to avoid it. I'll check with the school to see if they do DNA testing. It's a different neighborhood, so maybe we're safe." "I hope so. It's been a while since we've met. What do you think?" "Don't you think we should stop this? It's too risky. We've been getting away with it for years. Besides, I don't want to stop. And I'm sure you don't want Dave to find out, do you?" "Would you really tell him? It would ruin you too." "You want to take that risk? I can always start fresh." "You're a real bastard, you know that?" "Yeah? So what? Pick a day this week. Damn you, damn you. Well, this Tuesday is Dave and Allie's monthly date night. They don't get home until 10 o'clock. How about Valley View at 6 o'clock? Yeah, okay. We'd better get back. Let me know what the school says. Hearing them leave, Dave got up and closed the window just in time to avoid losing his breakfast in the bathroom. He managed to sit up before he passed out, silent tears streaming down his face. He repeated quietly, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do?" His head was spinning with thoughts in every direction. He had never felt such pain before, and his chest clenched. He felt like his guts were being ripped out of him. Oh my God, am I having a heart attack? He quickly dismissed that fear, but the pain continued. After a few minutes, he felt a little stronger. He cleaned himself up as best he could, fighting the horrible thoughts that continued to hover in his head. Allie, Jesus, Allie, is she really mine? The horror of the thought began to cause panic, until he realized that she was his girlfriend, regardless of who planted the seed. But if it turned out that the seed donor was rich, his brother would agonize until he regretted being born into the world at all. Who the hell is Linda? I can't believe... He tried to pull himself together. He needed time to think and figure things out. He knew he couldn't face them now. There would be 100 people gathered here soon, and he had to find a way to act normal. The problem was that he was a terrible actor and too transparent in his thoughts. After being in the basement for almost 20 minutes, he realized he had to come out of hiding. What can I do? There was no way his thoughts could calm down. Ice, he whispered aloud, not addressing anyone in particular. He realized that by sneaking out of the house to buy ice, he would lose precious time to pull himself together. He splashed water on his face, trying to hide the signs of his devastation, and then went upstairs to try his best to put on an Emmy-worthy performance. Coming out of the basement, he spotted Sonia. "Sonia, if you see Linda, tell her I'm running for ice." "Sure," she replied cheerfully, unaware that her world was about to implode as well. Dave parked in front of the store and decided to take a few minutes to just walk and think. Walking always helped him think. He felt tears come to his eyes and shouted angrily, "Stop it!" He had never been a tearful or emotional person, and it made him angry that he couldn't control himself. He needed to be the master of the situation and think straight. He needed a plan of action, and he also needed to find a way to get through the party and the days that followed without his family suspecting something amiss. The walk calmed his emotions and his thoughts became productive, and the basis of a strategy took shape. After realizing he had been away from home too long, he went to the store, bought 8 large bags of ice, and headed home to begin the first act of the tragedy in which he had unwittingly found himself. To his relief, the first person to see him was Allie. She looked up at him, and Dave realized that his acting skills were already failing him. "Dad, what's wrong? You look terrible." "My stomach. I had to pull over to the side of the road to throw out a cookie. Can you move the ice from my car to the big freezer downstairs? I need to lie down." "Sure. I'll tell Mom you're not feeling well." "Thanks, honey." Dave hoped that by isolating himself for a few hours, he could pull himself together. There was no better cover than an upset stomach. He heard someone coming up the stairs and quickly jumped up on the bed. A worried Linda opened the door and found him curled up in a ball on the bed. "Baby, Allie said you were sick. What's wrong?" "I don't know. I don't seem to have a fever, but my stomach is cramping and I've thrown up twice already." "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Look, we've got everything under control for the party, so just lie in bed for a while. If you feel better, come back. But even if you miss the party, I'm sure our guests will understand." "I don't want to miss it, but thanks for understanding." She kissed his forehead and discreetly checked him for signs of fever. Then, to his relief, she quietly left the room. Left alone, he got up to walk around. Dave's logical mind began to come up with a strategy. Then he began to jot down details and possible contingencies. Divorce was a given. Rich and Linda would undoubtedly be fired. He thought through the financial details. He tried to think of ways to protect innocent bystanders. Worry for Sonia and her boys and Dave's parents plagued his conscience greatly. But Allie? Whether she belonged to him or not, all this would shatter her world. He thought she would want to stay with him, but he couldn't be sure. He'd already lost his wife and best friend, and he couldn't bear the thought of ruining his relationship with his young daughter. These fears threatened to bring more tears, but he silently chided himself for not being able to hold them back. As if sensing that he was thinking of her, Allie chose that moment to visit him. He heard her coming up the stairs and quickly lay down. He pretended to sleep, but the game failed him again. Her hand ran gently through his hair above his ear. He couldn't look at her or his game would disintegrate. "Daddy, are you okay?" "I don't know, baby. I want to try to get a few hours of sleep before people get here." Banjo jumped on the bed and licked his master's face affectionately. Dave let him do it, not only because he liked the dog's attention, but also because it effectively wiped away escaping tears. "I brought you a concerned friend. Do you mind?" "Sure. Hi, buddy," he greeted his furry companion, hugging him. "I love you, Daddy. I hope you're feeling better now, okay?" "Thanks, baby. I love you too." Since he was facing her to hide his face, she had to lean over to kiss his forehead. Feeling her love, he was covered in pleasant goosebumps, as if physically confirming how much he loved his little girl. At that moment, he realized he had made the right decision regarding the dilemma he was struggling with. Allie had to know the whole story before the confrontation began. He couldn't protect her from the truth, so the right decision would be to prepare her. He knew when and how to do it, but he hated that it was necessary. What were Linda and Rich thinking? He thought to himself. To understand their cruel betrayal seemed unfathomable to him. Now he was to set off a bomb in his family by exposing their treachery. The blessings he had enjoyed less than 24 hours ago now turned into painful memories of a perfect life that no longer existed. With the sour taste of betrayal in his mouth, he quietly spat out his anger. Damn them! Damn their sorry asses! Dave managed to be sociable with the guests, and he was lucky that Linda and Rich were too busy to socialize with him. Hannah cast curious glances at him from time to time, as if realizing something was wrong, but said nothing. He kept Allie close to him so that he could care for her and, moreover, lean on her for strength. She was aware of his dependence on her, but assumed it had to do with the fact that he wasn't feeling well. Her watchful eye reassured him not to give himself away. He helped with the cleaning and then announced that he was going to bed early. His decision to use the guest room was justified, and Linda bought that excuse. He was pleased with himself that his plans for the first night had gone well. The next morning, the family attended church. In the middle of the morning message, Dave pretended to feel his phone vibrate and looked at the text screen, feigning disgust. Linda threw him a questioning look, to which he replied, "Later." When the service ended, she asked, "What was that message?" "The owner of Gupta Water Equipment needs me tomorrow for a meeting with his big client. He wants me to be there until lunchtime, so I'll be back on Tuesday." "Where are they located?" "In Pittsburgh. I'll need to leave this afternoon." "Are you feeling all right? You looked very green yesterday." "I'm fine. I'd better leave this afternoon. I want to have time to get a good night's sleep." "So we're still going to your parents' house for lunch?" "Yes, I'll drive separately so you and Allie can stay." Dave was pleased with himself. The second and third nights were safely completed. At his parents' house during Sunday brunch, he stayed as far away from Rich as possible. Linda was busy enough helping with the food and chatting with Sonia, so she didn't notice his aloof attitude. He left as soon as lunch was over, stopping by the house to pick up any necessary paperwork and then driving to the Marriott Courtyard Hotel, 5 miles from their business. After checking into his room and getting settled, he called his attorney, who, fortunately, also happened to be a good friend who didn't mind the Sunday call. "Hi, Dave. To what do I owe this Sunday call from my favorite client?" "Bill, I apologize for taking advantage of our friendship to call you today, but I have a serious problem." "Damn, I'm sorry, my friend. Do you want to come over to my place and talk? I have a few bottles of Yuengling lager beer with your name on it." "Do you mind?" "Sure. I won't even bill you for the watch or the beer," he said with a chuckle. "Come over if you want." "Dude, thanks. You're a good friend and I really need one right now." Dave met with his attorney, Bill Hardwick, and explained his dilemma to him. Bill had gone through a divorce himself for similar reasons, so he really proved to be an interested listener. As they got into the details of Dave's plan, Bill realized why his services might be needed, even though he doesn't practice family law. "It's a smart move to combine business law and family law in this problem," Bill remarked. "Could you use the services of my friend who handled my divorce? She's a real shark." "I was hoping you had a recommendation. How soon can we call her?" "Let me call her right now and see what she can do to fit us into her schedule." Bill stepped back for privacy and called Angela Hall. She hated cheaters with a passion, and Bill knew she would treat Dave right. After talking for a few minutes, he disconnected the call and returned to his friend. Good news! She's coming over and joining us for dinner. Is that okay with you? Wow, it makes me feel special to get a Sunday service like this. Listen, my friend, what your wife and brother did really hurts my soul. We have to make things right. I have to say that you and Linda are the last people I expected to meet in a situation like this. Yes, both you and I are. Well, don't start feeling too special. You're buying dinner. We'll order from Kelly's Steakhouse when Angela arrives. They deliver food, and they know my place well since I can't cook. Angela was a pleasant woman, and Dave realized that she and Bill were more than friends. Bill quickly confirmed his suspicions. Yes, my friend, this nice woman is single, but don't think you have a chance. She's already ready for we're getting married in a month. Wow, that's great. I could come up with a lot of sarcastic comments, but my mood turns off the filters and I don't want to come across as nasty. Relax, Dave. I already know I don't deserve this beautiful, amazing woman. They spent the afternoon and evening discussing strategy and thinking through their actions. Angela took Dave's financial statements and set up a meeting for Monday to finalize the details. All indications were that Dave would be ready to serve Linda on Friday. At one point, they took a break so Dave could pretend he was in Pittsburgh when he called home. Linda answered. Hi, honey. I guess you got there okay. How are you feeling? A little tired, but that's okay. I had a quick bite of a burger and I'm going to go to bed. Is Allie there? Yes, next to me, watching TV. Can you put me on speakerphone? Sure. A moment passed as she held out the phone to her daughter. Hi, Daddy. I miss you already. I miss you too, honey. I just wanted to let you know I'll be home in time for our date on Tuesday. Oh, good. I was beginning to wonder if you were going to set me up. Never, baby. We'll have a fancy dinner and a movie. Pick a movie you want to see that starts around 7:30, okay? Sure. Okay, guys, I'm off to bed. Love you both. After a chorus of love yous, the call cut off. Linda was a little hurt that they hadn't talked more, but she suspected that the 5 or 6 hour drive had knocked all the energy out of Dave. Dave opened the window by the hotel bed, hoping the fresh air would soothe his soul, but instead, strong odors from the dumpster downstairs wafted into the room. Just right, he thought, reflecting on what a stinking mess his life had become. He slammed the window shut, plopped down on the bed, and spent the night haunted by the nightmare he was living in. The next day, Dave's meeting with Bill and Angela went well, and the evening call home was short and sweet when he reported that his clients were expecting him for dinner. Dave was actually sitting in a local hotel room eating a hamburger prepared for him, planning his strategy for the next day, when he would have to bring Allie up to speed. It was the day he would have to watch his little girl grow up fast and learn the darker sides of life. It was a day he dreaded with all his heart and soul. Tuesday morning, Dave finalized a few more parts of his strategy, then met with his attorney once more to finalize the company-related issues he planned to address in the upcoming divorce, as well as to pay severance to Linda and his ex-brother. He arrived at the office just after lunch to give the impression that he had just arrived from Pittsburgh. The sight of Hannah brought to the surface all the emotions he thought he had kept under control. Instead of ushering her directly into his office, he greeted her with an awkward smile and closed the office door behind him. Get a grip, he said softly to himself. The list of actions lying in front of him was the crutch that helped him keep his composure. Taking out his notepad, he reviewed the itinerary, took a deep breath, and called his friend and trusted office manager. Hi, Dave, she said with her usual smile, which quickly faded when she saw his face. Silent tears ran down his cheeks. Not only could he not hold them back, but he didn't want to. Oh my God, what happened? Are you okay? She threw aside all rules of office etiquette and rushed to hug the man she held dear who was clearly in pain. Dave, what's wrong? Are you sick or something else? Please talk to me. No, he replied in a shaky voice. I'm not sick. No one's sick. Hannah pulled a chair over to him, took his hand, stroked his arm, and sat next to him. We're shit. He grabbed a napkin as his composure began to return to him. We need to change some things. I think they'll be good, but the reason we need them is very neglected. What? What's wrong? He looked at her with the saddest eyes she'd ever seen. Swollen and reddened, they betrayed the degree of pain her boss was in. She realized that only one thing could shake him so badly. Linda? Something with Linda? He nodded, finding it difficult to answer. He lowered his head and averted his eyes, then squeezed out a single word. Roman. Oh, my lord, Linda? She hugged him again, seeing that he was losing his composure. I can't believe it. Are you sure? Do you know who? Dave nodded his head, clearly having trouble naming the culprit. Hannah knew she had to be patient. He looked up at her, and his expression changed from all-consuming sadness to burning anger. Rich, my own damn brother. Completely shocked, Hannah stood up abruptly and began to saunter away. That son of a bitch, she hissed, trying not to be heard. That stupid, selfish bastard. She continued to rant, digesting her boss's misery in her mind. After a few minutes, she calmed down and hugged the broken man again. Suddenly, she raised her head sharply and looked him straight in the eyes. You found out right before the party, didn't you? How did you find out? I realized something was really wrong, and I didn't believe the sensitive stomach story. I overheard them talking, and I immediately threw up. So the sensitive stomach story was partly true. And I guess you really weren't in Pittsburgh yesterday, were you? No. Lawyers. There's no chance of you staying with her? I've been praying to find a way, but they've been dating for 16 years or more. I can't get over it. I'll never see her as the woman I loved. Hannah went to the refrigerator in Dave's office and pulled out a Coke, then took 2 glasses and a bottle of rum from the cabinet. I think we both need a rum and Coke. What do you think? I think that's a great idea. Hannah handed him the glass and sank into the chair across from him, taking a big sip. They sat in silence for a while, looking at each other, and then got down to business matters. Dave started the conversation. Apparently, they're both getting fired after Friday. Apparently. Rich's wife, Sonia, has a business degree. I want to see if she can handle Linda's job. We won't be dealing with this issue until next week, so I may need you to find a way to cover Linda's duties in the short term. I can. I know her job, and I can handle it. Hopefully not for too long. I don't want to overburden you. No problem. I've got big shoulders. What about sales? Well, a while back, Debbie Gleason said she wanted to get into sales. She's very well established as an employee of Rich's, and I think she'd be good at it. I agree. The hardest part is taking Debbie's place. Tammy Fields. She developed systems and helped with purchasing. She also had a lot of business courses. I think she'll fit in easily. Good. Sounds like a good option. What's the time frame? This Friday, just before they get ready to leave, tell them you and I talked about expanding sales and see if they're interested. Let them know they're not telling anyone yet, but you and I want to meet with them Monday morning to offer them promotions. I got it. Anything else? Yes. Sometime before Monday, could you draw up job descriptions for them? I'll discuss compensation packages when we talk to them on Monday. Yes, what else? A few remaining tears streamed down Dave's face. This is probably the most difficult task. You're one of my closest friends. I'm losing Linda, my best friend, so I apologize in advance if I have to lean on you even more. Hannah ran around the table and hugged Dave as he stood up. This will be my easiest task and my greatest privilege. Hannah walked out of the office, suffering for Dave. He was too good a man to be in such pain, and she couldn't help but feel it. Next chapter. Linda paced aimlessly, pretending to be busy in the kitchen, which was already spotless. She hadn't been with Rich in almost a year, and trying to figure out why she was still giving in to him was torturing her. She didn't like him, much less love him. After their brief conversation in the garden on Saturday, Linda decided that she would end this nonsense for the last time. She didn't believe that Rich would really tell Dave. After all, he had so much to lose. After all, she had risked too much for something she was sure she would never enjoy. In retrospect, she should have recognized that years ago. The question of why she had jeopardized her family for something so vulgar and meaningless constantly grated on her conscience. Dave interrupted her musings by walking through a side door. She threw herself into his arms and kissed him. Now that's welcome home, he said with some surprise. What prompted you to do this? I love you so much and I just missed you, since we haven't been together since the picnic. I missed you too, baby, he lied. Ready for your big date with Allie? You bet. He wondered what would happen if he asked if she was ready for a date with Rich. She's already getting ready and will be down in a minute. What do you have planned for tonight? I'm taking her to Vincent's Italian restaurant and then a movie of her choice. Do you have plans for tonight? He noticed her flinch slightly. Oh, nothing much. I've decided to go shopping at the mall. We don't need any shopping, he teased. That's very funny. I'm just going to see if there's anything worthwhile. Well, remember to shop safely. He regretted his words as soon as they were out of his mouth. What does that mean? Nothing, just trying to make a joke. He noticed the odd twitch of her eyelid. Thankfully, Allie came down the stairs and interrupted the growing awkwardness. Daddy! Allie rushed into his arms with her usual joyous greeting. She was dressed in her Sunday clothes and looked much more grown up than he was willing to admit. She was growing up too fast, and today's conversation was going to make her look even more grown up. Baby girl, ready to color the town? Color the town? What does that mean? Just having a good time. Oh. Then yes, and also with my favorite guy. As they left, Linda was overwhelmed with a multitude of emotions. She was overwhelmed with pride and love for Dave and Allie, but guilt and remorse began to take center stage in her thoughts. After tonight, Rich and I are definitely finished, she thought. She waited 20 minutes and then grabbed her keys to drive to the rendezvous with her longtime lover. As they pulled away from the house, Dave felt his chest tighten. Taking a few deep breaths, he nervously took Allie's hand. Honey, I have to apologize in advance for tonight. Apologize? For what? We won't be able to have a fancy dinner or go to a movie tonight. I have serious things to talk about and something to show you. Serious? Allie's concerned look brought tears to her eyes. Daddy, you're not sick or anything, are you? No, baby. We're going to stop at Chick-fil-A now, and then we'll go somewhere and talk, okay? Why can't you tell me now? Is it some secret from Mom? You're freaking me out, please? There's nothing to be scared of, baby. It'll just be easier if I'm not driving. Be patient, please. They were silent for a few minutes until they entered the Chick-fil-A cafe. After ordering the specialty chicken strips, they pulled onto the main road. Babe, let's eat while we go where we're going. For 15 minutes, they drove in complete silence until Dave pulled into a small office complex across from the Valley View Motel. Okay, Dad, we're parked. What's going on? Why did we come here? Dave looked at the innocent face of the girl sitting next to him and began to shake the foundations of her world. Honey, well, shit, I'm sorry, it's hard. She took his hand and smiled forcedly. It's okay, Daddy, tell me. Dave made a big sign. Your mom's having an affair. It's been going on for a long time. Allie pulled her hand out of his arm in shock and her face contorted in pain. No, it can't be. Mom would never. That's what I thought too. Like I never knew her. That's why we're here. She's supposed to meet him here in 10 minutes. Meet? With who? We'll find out soon enough, baby. She cried and hugged her father's neck as hard as she could. This can't be happening. You must be wrong. Her denial, mixed with tears and emotion, broke his heart. Dave noticed 2 cars pulling into the motel parking lot. Allie felt his attention drawn to the scene across the street. She pulled up and saw her mom's car parked. She then saw her Uncle Rich get out of the car and enter the motel office. With complete shock on her face, she quickly looked at her father and saw tears streaming down his face. The girl saw that her father was heartbroken, and her heart broke for him. She hugged him as hard as she could, settling into the bucket seats, and cried at the horror they had endured together. She felt him trying to move and noticed that he was trying to take pictures of the tragic scene. They watched as the lovers embraced and walked into room 103 together. Dave reached for his daughter's chin to encourage her to look at him. I'm so sorry, baby. He gently wiped the tears from her face. I'm so sorry. They just hugged each other to give each other strength as they each pondered what they had seen. After a few minutes, Allie stood up and looked at her father. This is killing our family, isn't it? Yes, baby. The 3 of us, Uncle Rich and Aunt Sonia, all of us. I'll stay with you no matter what. I don't want anything to do with her. I'll do everything in my power to keep you with me, darling. You don't understand, Dad. If she tries to make me stay with her, I'll make her life so miserable she'll have to let me go. Count on it. He wanted to tell her to be open to a relationship with Linda, but all the emotions were too strong. They could talk about it months later, but now it was too soon. Allie, the hardest thing is going to happen in the next few days. I'm going to talk to your mother on Friday night. You have to act normal until then. Can you do that? She started crying again. I don't know. How can I do that? Well, we can talk about this and the plans I've made. Let's get out of here and go somewhere else where we can talk. Dave drove to a deserted picnic spot in a city park that was well lit as the sun went down. They talked, planned, cried, screamed in frustration, and bonded on a deeper level than they had ever bonded before. It was two against the world. They drove home just after 10 o'clock at night. Allie wasn't sure she could act like this for 3 days. Daddy, I'm not sure I can see her and not give her a good slap. Watch your mouth, honey. You may not want to hear this, but eventually, you're going to have to maintain a normal relationship with her. They'll never be the same. I'll definitely never respect her. Let's stick to the plan, and it'll take the pressure off you to act normal. When we get home, pretend you're really tired and go straight to bed, okay? I can do that. Allie paused to gather her thoughts. Daddy, I love you so much. I don't know how you can stand what she's doing, but I'm here for you, okay? How lucky is a slacker like me to have such a wonderful daughter like you? She took her father's hand as he pulled into their driveway. You're far from a slacker, Daddy. You're the best man I know, and the best father a girl could ever dream of having. They entered the house quietly. Fortunately, Linda was already in bed, and that allowed Allie to take control of herself. Dave discovered that Linda was pretending to be asleep. He figured she wouldn't want to frolic since she had just been with his brother. She didn't know that he was counting on her to avoid him so that he would avoid her. It made Dave sad that this might be the last time they both get what they want in bed. All night they lay back to back, each pretending to be asleep, each with their own thoughts, each in silent tears. Waking from sleep, Dave immediately smelled coffee. He got up, did his morning chores, got dressed, and packed his suitcase to head across town for 2 nights. Going downstairs, he quietly went into Allie's room to see if she was ready, and she greeted him with a silent smile and a nod of her head. He found Linda in the kitchen making pancakes for the family. She turned to greet him with a wide smile. Good morning, dear. Breakfast is almost ready. He hugged her from behind and kissed her neck like any other morning. As planned, Allie emerged from her room exactly at the appointed time. Good morning, parents. Good morning, baby. Did you sleep well after your date with that hot guy? Of course. Daddy, have you asked her yet? Linda threw her husband a questioning look. About what? I forgot to tell you last night that I have to go back to Pittsburgh today, and I'll be back on Friday. I mentioned it to Allie last night, and she begged me to go with her. Of course, Linda echoed cheerfully. Allie will make your trip much more enjoyable. Great, Allie exclaimed. I'll eat quickly and get ready. It won't take me long. Breakfast was eaten quickly, so conversation was minimal. Allie rushed to pack her things, while Dave went to his home office to gather the necessary items. Allie and Dave got into the car and both breathed a sigh of relief. How did I do, Dad? Great. Your idea to come with me was brilliant. Now neither of us will have to worry about the quality of our acting. You mean poor quality, don't you? Exactly. Dad, have you thought about having me with you when you confront Mom? I'm still not sure, baby. I want to be there. And when you see Uncle Goat, too. Language. I'm sorry. I just think this whole mess deserves a lot of swearing. Dave smiled, admiring Allie's strength of character. A question popped into his head. If you were there, what would you say? I'm not sure. I think I would have followed my first instincts, but she would have no doubt about how I feel and how much I'm on your side. I want her to know that she won't be able to hide from me what she's really like. They checked into a hotel on the other side of the town and were on their way in the elevator to their room. Allie was unusually quiet for a while. She stared at the floor in the elevator and quietly asked her father a question. When do you think their affair began? I don't know exactly, but it was a long time ago. She looked at her father with tears in her eyes. You don't think... He interrupted her. I know what you're asking, baby. I don't know, but the answer won't change anything between us. They stepped off the elevator and walked in silence to their room. As soon as the door closed, Allie continued to talk about what was on her mind. Do you want to find out everything? I don't know, honey, do you? I know who my one and only daddy is, but I think it would be wise to find out. It's just, well, it's bad enough being the daughter of one cheating boyfriend. I don't know if I can stand being the child of two selfish jerks. So you want to know? I guess I do. Is that okay? Yes, I feel like that question is like an axe hanging over my head. Is it okay if we wait a few months? I have a reason to hang on for now. She hugged him with tears in her eyes, after which they started unpacking. While staying at a nearby hotel, Allie and Dave continued to communicate. When Dave needed to meet with lawyers or take care of other business, she spent time by the pool swimming or reading while sitting in the sun. On the first day of their stay, Hannah came to the hotel to follow their strategy and then joined them for dinner. Allie and Hannah really enjoyed each other's company. After dinner, back in the room, Allie decided to share candidly. Dad, you know Hannah has a thing for you, don't you? What? You think so, don't you? Yes, she likes you a lot. But you've never had anything with her, you know? Dave stepped back and his face looked like she'd slapped him. I hope you know me better than that. I've never even come close to your mom. With tears in her eyes, she rushed forward and hugged him. Oh, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I mean, I know it's not like you. I shouldn't have asked that. I'm so sorry. Dave's heart melted. Honey, your mom has rocked your world and mine pretty badly. I think it's perfectly reasonable to doubt that someone is who they seem to be after you discover that one of your parents isn't who you thought they were. Rest assured, I am who you think I am. I loved your mother with all my heart and would never cheat on her or anyone else. Still panting, Allie asked him the question that worried them both. Then why did she do it? I don't know, baby. I just don't know. Hopefully we'll find out on Friday. I'm sorry I said that, Daddy. I know how good you are. Will you forgive me? You don't need forgiveness for asking what's on your mind. You just caught me off guard. The warm glow from his daughter's presence quickly returned to Dave's heart. She cared for him and was his only reliable pillar of sanity. He had almost forgotten that she, too, had a lot to overcome. The next day, Hannah called Linda at her home office. Hi, Hannah. Linda, how are you doing? Couldn't be better. How's it going? How's the month-end closing going? Almost done. Why do you ask? Well, are you planning on coming into the office tomorrow? Our IT guy will need your laptop over the weekend to update the software and make sure it doesn't have the virus that was on our network. I'm going to be there all day. I've got some paperwork to get done in time. Great. I'll see you tomorrow, and don't forget to bring your laptop. Maybe we'll have lunch since your usual lunch partner is out of town. Sounds good to me. See you then. Hannah breathed a sigh of relief. She knew her soon-to-be ex-girlfriend's life would be upended. She felt sorry for her and her family, but in the back of her mind, in a place she'd spent years trying to control, a bright ray of hope glimmered. On Friday, the day that would mark the destruction of her family, Allie woke up and cleared her eyes. She looked at her father, who was staring out the window with a cup of coffee in his hand, not paying attention to anything. Tears glistened in his eyes. Dad, are you okay? He looked at her with a forced smile, walked over to her bed and sat on the edge. He gently stroked her hair, moving it away from her eyes, and kissed her forehead. Am I okay? Not really, no. How about you? Are you ready for a really bad day? Yeah, she said with a sigh. There's no choice, is there? What do you mean, baby? You can't forgive her and stay, can you? I wish God would give me that option. Ever since all this came upon me, I've been asking myself the same question every minute. But all these years, all this hiding, all her pretending to be loving and faithful, I just can't see her as the woman I loved and married. Even if it was just a random, isolated incident, I think I could find a way to overcome it. It's much deeper than that. They hugged and tried to draw strength from each other. Allie whispered in his ear, Thank you for including me. I'm glad I know what's going on. I don't think I can wake up tomorrow with a surprise. He pulled away from the embrace and looked into her tear-drenched eyes. Baby, some people will think it was wrong of me to lean on you this week and involve you in everything. I really needed you, and your maturity for a 15-year-old girl is amazing. Are you okay? When Daddy's here, I'm fine. Then I'm fine too. What do you say we start this shitstorm? Language, Daddy. Sorry, baby. After a light breakfast, they both showered, packed their bags, and checked out. They drove to his lawyer's office and were happy to see both Bill and Angela there. His legal team had spent a lot of time talking to Allie and were clearly impressed with the young lady's composure and poise. The four of them went over the divorce proceedings and other documents. Allie participated with interest and had good questions and suggestions. Angela felt she had to make a remark. Allie, you seem to really understand and deal with this. Actually, Allie replied, the law interests me. It's my favorite TV show. The actual practice of law is very different from television, Bill added. Oh, I'm sure it is, Allie said, but I still think it's something I'd like to do. I have an idea, Angela suggested. When you're old enough, maybe you'd like to work with me helping our paralegal team. It would give you a chance to feel like a lawyer. Yeah, that would be great. Watching Allie interact with Bill and Angela reinforced his confidence that she was quite capable of weathering this big storm. She would be fine. All four of them ate a light lunch together, and then Dave and Allie ran errands. They got home around 3:30 p.m. At this point, the weight of the impending confrontation seemed almost unbearable, and their awkward silence added to that pressure. Dave laid out the evidence and papers on the dining room table, and then persuaded Allie to play a game of cribbage to pass the time. They had about an hour left before the family would break up. The sound of the garage door opening made Allie and Dave take their places at the table. No more playing around or hiding behind masks. It was going to be real. Very, very real. Linda walked through the front door with packages in hand and exclaimed, "The Chinese food is here. Let's get the party started." Just then, she saw the grim faces of her daughter and husband sitting at the dining room table. "Hey, you two, what's up?" Dave said quietly but firmly. "Sit down, Linda." She hesitantly approached the table and spoke. "What's going on?" Just then, she saw a picture of her meeting with Rich on Tuesday night. She fell back in her chair, almost missing it. She pulled herself together as tears came to her eyes. An expression of agonizing pain froze on her face. Lowering her head, she repeated, "No, no, 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 no." Forcing herself to raise her eyes, she saw the two people dearest to her sitting there, staring at her in silence. The tense expression on their faces spoke clearly of their contempt for her. "Please, Dave, don't do what I deserve," she said softly between quiet sobs. She took a tissue from the box they had kindly placed on the table and tried to wipe away enough tears to clear her distorted vision. After a moment's torture, Dave asked quietly, "What do you think you deserve?" She sobbed even harder, spitting out the words, "Please don't leave me, don't leave me." "You mean the way you left our marriage? Our family?" "Oh God, please. It was a terrible mistake," she cried out. Keeping his composure, Dave asked softly, "How long did this mistake, as you call it, last?" She hesitated, trying to see if she could get away with lying. Not knowing what Dave already knew, she tried to give a safe answer. "It doesn't matter. One time was too many. Please, Dave. Can we try to forget about it?" "Forget? Are you serious?" She flinched at the abruptness and loudness of his answer. She finally admitted to herself that he knew. She didn't know how he knew, but he did. "How long?" he asked. She rested her forehead in her hands, resting her elbows on the table. She couldn't look at either her husband or her daughter, not knowing the answer. Only before you met Sonia." "I see," Dave said caustically. "About 17 years then. I guess 17 years of cheating on me doesn't make any difference to you. Is that what you're telling us?" "No, of course it matters. It was a terrible, selfish, hurtful act." Allie couldn't hold back any longer. "Oh really, God, Mom, how could you do that? Do you realize how much you've ruined Dad and I's life?" Dave stood up suddenly to emphasize his anger. "Who the hell are you, Linda? Who the hell are you?" "I think I know," Allie added. "Let's see. Tramp, whore, adulteress, cheat, liar, traitor. Oh, and how about bitch?" Linda was almost choking. Her bowels and bladder struggled to relieve the internal pressure she was feeling. "Please don't call me by my first name," Linda pleaded. "Dave, please ask her not to say things like that. When she says the wrong thing, I correct her," he replied with anger in his voice. For a few moments, the members of the broken family were silent except for Linda. She tried to remain calm, but she couldn't stop sobbing. Finally, she managed to ask the question that stirred her heart the most. She knew the answer would crush her. "What are you going to do?" Dave replied, "Go to your room, clean yourself up, and calm down for a few minutes. Your crying is just pissing us off. Then go downstairs and we'll talk for a few minutes before Allie and I leave. But we need to fix this. Where are you going? That's not your concern, and we certainly won't fix anything in a few hours. Go upstairs, he ordered. Linda staggered up the stairs, and Dave sent Linda's sister the expected message. All set. She's going to need you. Be there in 30. Great. We're not leaving until you get here. Just come on in. Got it. Linda sat down on the bed and let her emotions come out. For the first 5 minutes, she sobbed, tears streaming down her face and horrible thoughts running through her mind. When the tears subsided, her mind calmed down as well. She began to think of ways to keep her family together. She sank down on the bed, and then it hit her. This would no longer be her bed. She had destroyed it for no reason. A new wave of tears came. 20 minutes later, she came downstairs, still visibly upset, but more in control of herself. She sat in silence, looking embarrassed and ashamed. She was relieved that Allie wasn't with her during this part of the conversation. She waited for Dave to take the lead. First of all, I think you realize you're fired. Linda's tears came again. Why? I'm good at my job. Why do I have to be fired? Do you really need to ask? I don't know who you are anymore or if I can trust you. Besides, frankly, I don't want you around. She lowered her eyes, trying to regain control of herself, then asked, What else? Here are the papers I'm sure you expect to receive. In the envelope is your severance pay and agreement. Open your own checking account with the check that is in it. As for the paperwork, familiarize yourself with it. You may want to hire an attorney. I'll pay the initial costs, but if you fight, it will be on your conscience. This all seems so harsh and it doesn't sound like you, dear. Can't we work on making things right? Ignoring her words, Dave continued. Shelley will be here soon to support you. I urge you to go with her for a week or so because I'm not ready to talk yet. When we're both ready, you can come back here to the guest room until more permanent arrangements can be made. Can't I just stay? Damn it, Linda. I really don't want to see your face for a while. The last sentence felt like a knife stabbed into her chest. She paused for a moment before asking the question she'd been dreading so much. Have you made up your mind yet? Do we really have no chance? I don't see a way out, Linda. 17 years and with my brother. You two have completely destroyed 2 marriages and split 3 families. 3? Of course, us, Sonia and Rich, and my parents now that my brother is dead to me. Her face drained as the weight of her behavior grew heavier. Oh God, forgive me, she pleaded. I'm sure God will forgive. I hope I'll be more ready in the years to come than I am now. Shelley picked the perfect time to come in. Dave gave her a hug and then called Allie from her room. Before he left, he turned and cast a brief glance at his wife. Both of them could see the agony on each other's faces. It was in that moment that he fully felt the pain of their lives being torn apart. 2 who had become one nearly 18 years ago were now cruelly torn away from each other to become 2 again. It would take time to heal this wound, if it could heal at all. Next chapter. Dave and Allie knew the plan as they drove in complete silence to their destination. Whether they were ready or not was the question. At first, Dave really wanted to savor what was coming next. Then he realized how many people would be seriously hurt in the moments that followed. To be the messenger of what would be the cause of all this pain tore at his heart. They pulled up to Sonia and Rich's house in his father's car. He knew his parents were here for dinner. He prayed they were okay, but he needed them to see the evidence and the confrontation firsthand. Dave was going to cut his brother out of his life, and they needed to understand why. Dave's heart was pounding so hard he was afraid he was going to pass out. Allie noticed he was struggling, took his hand, and smiled. Dad, it's going to be okay. We'll get through this. Okay, little man. Just remember to stay close to your grandparents and give them the picture when I give it to Sonia. I've got it all figured out. You still haven't answered if you're going to beat Uncle Govett for brains. I'm not going to, but we'll see what happens. Remind me we need to talk about your increasing use of profanity, he said, suppressing a chuckle. Allie and Dave entered without knocking just after everyone in the house had finished dinner. The 4 adults had just gotten up from the dinner table and the kids were somewhere else in the house. Allie ran to hug her grandparents and Sonia greeted Dave. Hey guys, I wasn't expecting you, but we have plenty of food if you're hungry. Dave kissed his sister-in-law on the forehead. Thanks, but we've already eaten. I'm afraid we have something unpleasant to discuss. He handed Sonia a photograph from Rich and Linda's date, and Allie gave her grandparents her copy. The room filled with a chorus of, "What's this?" that grew louder as the images became clearer. Dave handed the copy to his brother. "Well, dear brother, would you care to explain?" Rich turned white and slumped in his chair. "Yes," Dave's father turned to his youngest son. "Can you explain this, Richard?" Sonia pounced on her husband and slapped him across the face with all her might, shouting obscenities and accusations as she did so. Dave tried his best to contain and calm her anger. "Let's hear him explain." "Yes, let's hear him," their mother added, and Allie hugged her protectively. Rich stuttered and couldn't find the words to get out of this mess. "That was... shit. Where did you get that picture?" "Wrong answer, asshole," Dave shouted. "I know the truth, so let's hear you admit it." "You know so much, tell the damn story," Rich hissed angrily. Sonia looked at Dave with pleading eyes. "Dave, please?" "Okay. That piece of garbage and my wife were having an affair. Not just a little fling. Oh no, those assholes were doing it before he even met you, Sonia." She hurled curses and insults, kicking and punching him, seemingly with the speed of the Tasmanian devil. Rich fell to the floor and curled up, trying to defend himself. Finally exhausted, she burst into tears, ran into the living room and threw herself on the couch. Her mother and Allie rushed to her aid. Their father walked over to Rich and, standing awkwardly beside him, asked in an imperious tone, "Is this true, Richard?" Rich looked at his father with a tear-stained face and simply nodded. "You stupid piece of shit. How could you do that to your own brother and wife? God damn it, son. I don't know how I could be more disappointed. You're just a disgrace." "I'm sorry," Rich pleaded. "I'm really, really sorry, Dave. Leave it alone, asshole," Dave spat out. "There's nothing you can say to make it right. You're dead to me, man. I don't ever want to see you again. By the way, from the looks of it, you're fired." "Dad," Dave continued, "I don't have a brother. Do you understand?" "Son, give yourself time to cool down." "Papa, I don't have a brother. I never want to see him at Sunday dinners, holidays, weddings, etc. If he's there, I leave. If he accidentally shows up too often, I'll assume you've made a choice. Did I get that right?" "That's right, son. I got it. But don't expect Mom and I to cut him out of your life like you're about to do." "I get it. Just don't think it can be fixed." Sonia led the ladies back to the dining room, shouting at the top of her voice as she did so. "I put up with your crap and this is how you treat your family? Kill, kitchen. Pack your things and leave, now." "Go, Rich," their father ordered. "And don't think you're staying with us. None of us want to see you right now." Rich looked at his father with tears in his eyes. He looked at his mother, hoping to find tenderness in her, but saw only contempt. He got up off the floor and went to gather his bag. Before leaving the room, Dave had to give him directions. "Listen, asshole. Report to Bill Hardwick's office on Monday at 10 o'clock. Turn in your company car to him, and he'll give you a severance package. Read the terms and conditions carefully. Now I need the keys to your office. Hannah and I will sort through your things, and Bill will take them." Rich reached into his pocket, removed the keys to the office from his keyring, and, without making eye contact, handed them to his brother. Dave then walked over to Rich's computer bag, and Rich tensed in panic. "I'm taking your computer," Dave said. "No," Rich replied worriedly. "I have everything on there. I won't let a former employee access company equipment or information. Anything personal here will belong to Bill when you show up on Monday." "No," Rich shouted. "Let me take him for a few minutes." Rich's reaction made Dave uneasy. Something was off about his brother's reaction. Now, more than ever, he was determined to get his hands on the computer bag before Rich got to it. "Get it into your head that it's company property and it comes with me. Now back off." Rich pounced on his brother in a complete panic and threw a punch that landed on Dave's cheek. Dave was shocked, but an unhealthy grin appeared on his face. One punch knocked Rich to the floor. Everyone else in the room screamed, trying to break up the fight. To Dave, it was an unintelligible cacophony that had the opposite effect and only fueled his anger. Eventually, his father rolled him over onto his back and enclosed him in a bear hug that stopped the barrage. Dave and his father helped each other up. Rich was semi-conscious and was left lying on the floor. Dave's senses returned to him and he surveyed the scene. "Sonia, I'm sorry for jumping on you so suddenly. Can we talk privately sometime this weekend?" "I guess so." "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry about that." "We understand," his mother replied. "We'll talk later, okay?" Yes, I'd love to. Allie, I think I've done enough damage for today. Are you ready to go home? Let's go, Dad. Turning to his father, Dave asked one more favor. Will you and Mom stay behind to help Sonia and make sure that idiot leaves quietly? We will, son. Go take care of your family. You mean what's left of it? It's just me and Allie here now. We're here for you too, son. Allie and Dave walked away in silence. Dave's soul flared with regret at the scene he had made, but a large part of his soul was glad that he had been able to take his anger out on a worthy target. Now, a more pressing problem quickly occupied his thoughts, and Allie realized it too. Why is Uncle Rich so angry about his computer bag? What's in there? I'm thinking the same thing, honey. Let's go home and find out. Daddy, are you okay? You've been a little out of control. I'm fine. My arm hurts a little, he said with a forced chuckle. I was afraid you'd hurt Grandpa when he tried to stop you. I guess I was more than out of control, wasn't I? Definitely. It must have felt good, though. He looked at his daughter and they exchanged an understanding smile. The family left Rich alone, and he loaded everything he could into several suitcases and a bunch of trash bags. Sure, he was upset that his years-long affair had been exposed, but what pissed him off the most was that Dave had taken his computer bag. He needed the damn thing more than ever. He made sure no one saw him loading the lockbox into one of the large suitcases. Its contents were going to be enough to last a long time. After loading his things, he left the house without saying goodbye to anyone. He needed to get as far away as possible, so he headed north on the northeastern Pennsylvania highway. He needed time, but he didn't know when Dave would learn the truth about his misdeeds. He had to disappear. Rich didn't know how to work under pressure, so his plans were piecemeal at best. He wanted to find a small town in Wyoming or maybe Idaho. He thought he could rent a cheap place for cash, unload, and then drive farther west to ditch the car. To get back to the apartment he planned to rent, he would have to steal a car or motorcycle. Another option was to take a train or bus ride that wouldn't attract the attention of the local cops. Even more urgently, he needed to buy a computer. But without the file that was on the laptop Dave owned, he didn't know how to access his accounts. Shit, he shouted to himself. How did everything turn to shit so fast? In his haste and panic, Rich had overlooked two important things. One was lying on the console next to him. The other was right above the rearview mirror. Dave realized that he and Allie had never had dinner, so he stopped at a fast food place on the way home. They pulled up to an empty house. On the one hand, they were glad they wouldn't have to see Linda, but on the other hand, they were already feeling the emptiness in their lives due to her absence. After eating, Dave took his brother's computer bag into his home office and began to examine its contents. Everything seemed normal until he found an envelope that didn't seem right. The envelope had the logo of one of their big clients, Brandy Water Processes. There was no name or anything else written on it. He opened it and found a check inside. His blood ran cold in his veins when he saw that the check was made out to Rich's cleaning services in the amount of $9,900. It didn't take Dave long to run through various scenarios in his head explaining it. It was a bribe. "Rich, what are you up to?" he asked aloud. Finding no other papers in his bag, he booted up the computer using the administrator password. It didn't take him long to find a file that to a novice would have seemed hidden, but Dave was no novice. Realizing what he had discovered, he called Bill, his lawyer friend, again. "Dave, I was hoping you'd call. How did your meeting go?" "As expected, but I have a new development. I need your help again, and this time it's urgent." "What do you mean urgent?" "I'm afraid so." "Is scotch or beer urgent?" "Maybe both. Can you come over? I don't really want to leave Allie alone." "Should I bring Angela with me?" "It has nothing to do with the divorce, but she's always welcome." Bill Hardwick arrived 25 minutes later to see what his friend's latest crisis had to do with. Dave showed him the check and the contents of the computer file. "What do you think, Bill?" "You already know what I think, don't you?" "Bribery and extortion, right?" "At the very least. Probably tax evasion and some other crimes. We're talking about federal charges, so the FBI will have to be involved. It also means guaranteed jail time." "So what should I do?" "Let me call my friend at the bureau. If what you say about Rich's mental state is true, we need to act fast. He could definitely escape." Bill left a message on his friend's internal phone at the FBI and went back to Dave, who was waiting for him. "Okay, my friend, I think he'll call in the morning. We need to meet him as early as possible if he can accommodate us. Let me take the bag with the computer and the check, since I have a not unreasonable belief that Rich might try to come and get them from you. Good idea. You know, Dave, most people pay for legal fees after hours and on weekends. It becomes a habit, he said with a laugh. What kind of premium did you have in mind? Oh, I don't know. How about a bottle of 14-year-old Balvenie single malt? Deal, my friend. As he was walking out the door, a thought occurred to Bill. Dave, I don't think we should give Rich the severance package as written. That's a good point. I don't want it to become clear that the FBI is involved. Can you add a deferred payout time, maybe based on a reconciliation of expenses or something? Yes, I can do that. David hoped to talk to Sonia and his parents on Saturday, but put it off when Bill called early that morning. They had a 10 a.m. appointment with Agent Steve Majors at the FBI office in Philadelphia. Allie had left him no choice but to go with him. They were a couple and decided everything together. Dave and Bill showed the agent the evidence, after which he called his supervisor Jack Sims to the meeting. After the introductions, they reviewed the evidence. Jack rubbed his chin as he pondered the documents lying before him. We have a spreadsheet with all the bribes, an actual unpaid check from the last bribe, details of an offshore account with what amount? $785,952.00, Dave replied. And all of these funds belong to your company? I believe so. Rich had the right to negotiate the price of any project as long as the projected gross margin didn't fall below 23%. In all the projects I had time to check, the margins were just above that limit. So he clearly gave the lowest price in exchange for a bribe that was just peanuts compared to the savings to the client. And it sounds like you had 14 clients willing to do business that way? You do know that all of them will also be prosecuted, don't you? Yes, sir, Dave replied. Do you know where Rich is? No, Dave replied. He was supposed to meet Bill on Monday to get his severance pay, but the way he acted when I confiscated his computer bag and the fact that his wife and family kicked him out, he's probably on the run, Agent Major said, finishing Dave's thought. Steve, see if you can find his cell phone, Jack ordered. They chatted until Steve returned. He's on the run. Fortunately, he's not smart enough to turn off his phone or the OnStar system in his car. He's in Ohio on Interstate 80 and heading west. Okay, let's follow him and try to apprehend him as late as possible on Sunday. That will give us more time to apprehend him before charges are filed. Work with the local precincts as soon as he's in their area. Tell them to keep an eye on him until it's time to bring him under suspicion. Given the evidence we have, I think we can have formal charges ready by Monday morning, but we can hold him for 48 hours without formal charges. Bill, Allie, and Dave chatted carelessly on the way home. Before Rich's crimes were solved, he had other plans to punish his ex-brother that hinged on Allie's DNA test. If the test showed she was Rich's offspring, he would demand 18 years in prison after the division of Rich and Sonia's funds was finalized. Prison seemed like a much better option than anything he had in mind. The DNA test results no longer affected his retribution plan, and for that Dave was very grateful. Bill dropped Dave and Allie off, and they immediately arranged to meet Sonia and Dave's parents at Sonia's house. Dave's mom spent almost the entire meeting in tears after learning of her youngest son's act. His father looked so furious that he was ready to spit nails. Sonia, on the other hand, was rightly worried that this might leave her and her boys. Dave, what am I going to do? How are we going to live? I mean, I'm glad the bastard… Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that you… It's okay, honey. I understand, she said, snorting. Anyway, Sonia continued, I'm glad he's going to jail. Someday when we get through this storm, I'll tell you all about what he did to me. In the meantime, what am I going to do? Dave outlined his plans, hoping Sonia would agree. Well, first of all, we need to get you a lawyer. For the divorce, you need to use mine, Angela Hall. If he ends up going to jail, you should get the lion's share of all your joint assets. Then, if what the FBI tells me is true, the money Rich stole from the company will be returned. When that happens, I'll need some of that money to reorganize my business. And what's left, I'll put into a trust fund for you and the boys. You will have full access to it as needed. Finally, I know you have an associate's degree in business, so I assume you will be able to do the bookkeeping and basic accounting duties. I would be honored to have you take Linda's place in my company. A big plus will be that you will be able to work from home and still take care of your boys. How's that sound? Sonia rushed to him and hugged him with tears of joy and relief. Dave's mom and dad also expressed their support. Dave smiled at Allie, who was glowing with pride at the way her dad always took care of the family. On the way home, Dave tried to ask Allie a pressing question. Babe, we've already talked about maybe doing a DNA test. Have you thought about it yet? I've thought about it, and I'm having a hard time deciding, but I think we should do it. Are you okay with that? You're not angry. No, I can't be angry about it. And I think you're right. I'll get the test kits and we can get everything done this week. You believe me when I say the results won't change anything about how much I love you, right? I know it won't change how I feel about you, so yes, I believe you. I just want to know. Dave had been very afraid to talk to Allie about this, but now he could relax a little. There was still a lot to do, but as he crossed off one more item on his hellish list, he realized that the end of this nightmare was near. On the night of his departure, Rich drove all night west on Interstate 80. Just before entering Ohio, he stopped at a McDonald's for breakfast and some rest. Using his iPad, he researched possible destinations. He decided to stop in Sioux Falls. It seemed remote enough, yet large enough to be inconspicuous. He found an inexpensive furnished room online and called the number listed to reserve it. He could ditch the car near Fargo, which was about 6 hours north of Sioux Falls, and return by bus. He closed the car door, feeling better. Yeah, he exclaimed aloud. I have a plan. As he pulled onto the road, he began to mull over the chances of getting away with it. The longer he pondered, the more frightened he became when it dawned on him how foolish his plan was. However, he felt he had no choice. At the worst possible moment, he considered just giving up and throwing himself on the mercy of the court. But that option scared him even more, so he kept going forward. He thought about his family and what he had done to them. He forced his heart to be hard and focused on his anger. Hunters would be found, and he would be the prey. There was no time for regrets. He drove on until lack of sleep made driving dangerous. He found an inconspicuous parking spot at the Cracker Barrel and rested for a few hours. On Sunday, he woke up just in time for the restaurant to open and decided to eat breakfast before hitting the road. Once on the road, he drove mindlessly as he continued to mull over everything that had happened. As much as he wanted to deny responsibility for his misdeeds, he felt the growing weight of the consequences he would have to face. He loved his family. He felt some resentment, but he loved his brother. He wondered what had brought him this far. The day was drawing toward evening when he stopped at a diner near Omaha. It was only 200 miles to Sioux Falls, where he found an inexpensive motel. He had an appointment for the morning to get a room, and then he'd take care of dropping the car in Fargo. It was all coming together, so he thought. He walked to the door of the diner and two men approached him. As soon as they asked if he was Richard Pearson, he knew he was finished. The FBI had found its man. On Monday morning, Dave brought donuts, bagels, and coffee and scheduled an all-staff meeting for 9 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, he met separately with Debbie Gleason and Tammy Fields to tell them the good news about the promotion. At the company meeting, he introduced them as the new sales team. The employees were supportive when they heard all that had happened and were happy that Debbie and Tammy were given more responsibilities. All the unpleasant news and changes were presented. Then, when the shock passed, Dave was able to focus on continuing his business and personal life again. The next morning, Rich was formally charged with multiple felonies. Charges against his bribery clients would be filed as the FBI investigated each case. Realizing that he would have to give up a large portion of his clients, Dave made plans to change the structure of his business, spinning off part of the manufacturing operation under a new name and developing the distribution business as a new company. He had all the details of the business ready just in time for Linda's return. He would need all his wit and energy to weather this storm. Dave and Allie were enjoying dinner on their first Friday night outing to the Chinese movie theater without Linda when he felt his phone vibrate. Glancing at the screen, he took a deep breath and connected the call. What, Linda? Dave noticed Allie flinch at the mention of her mother's name. Dave, I've missed you. It's good to hear your voice. He replied coldly. Yes, what do you want? I'm ready to come home. Do you mind? Come over late tomorrow morning. We'll talk and figure out what to do next. Have you hired a lawyer? Yes, I hired Rhonda. We'll talk tomorrow, he interrupted her before disconnecting the call. Allie placed her hand on top of his. Are you okay? He smiled to reassure her. He realized she wasn't fooled and tried to answer. As well as I can possibly be. How did I do? Short to the point, and on the verge of being rude. I liked it. Just remind me never to piss you off. Oh, baby, I don't think you'll ever be able to upset me as much as your mom did. They were enjoying their time together in front of a movie that neither of them could remember an hour later. Their thoughts were consumed with all the shit that was going on in their lives. Without Linda, their Friday night tradition seemed strange, but the bond between father and daughter was growing stronger. Next chapter. Saturday morning, Allie and Dave were sitting in the living room, each buried in their iPads, when Linda walked into the room. She didn't know what to say, so she remained silent. Without looking at her mother or speaking to her, Allie got up and went upstairs to her room. Dave looked up from the screen and saw the displeasure on Linda's face, then went back to the iPad to spread out solitaire. Hey, Dave. He raised a finger in the universal wait sign. Less than a minute later, when the solitaire game was over, he hummed disappointedly, closed the iPad, and finally acknowledged her. Okay, Linda, let's talk. Have you been reading the papers? Yes, she replied, settling back in her chair. But can't we talk about how we can stay as a family? I can't bear the thought of things changing from what we had. What, we stay married, and you leave whenever you want? No, that's not what I mean, she protested. We've been a happy, loving family. Why does that have to end? I'll never risk it all again. Please, Dave. It's killing me. And what do you think is going to happen when your 17-year-old affair is revealed, huh? Oh, I get it. You never thought you'd get caught. You'll just keep your dirty little secret, and you and my asshole brother can keep having fun and laughing at silly old Dave sitting at home playing with himself. No, it wasn't like that. We never said anything bad about you. And I will never cheat on you again. I can't stand the thought of either of us going through something like that again. Are you telling me that you've spent the last 17 years treating me and our family with disregard without thinking of the consequences? How can I believe that possible consequences will stop you from your damned self-centered behavior? Tears came to her eyes again. Please, Dave, one more chance. Is that too much to ask? Hell yes, it is. Once or twice because of some, I don't know, weird psychological attack or too much alcohol, then maybe I could do it. Dave stood up, paced the floor, and yelled at Linda for the first time in his life. But 17 bloody years? What was that? I know he didn't get any bigger. Maybe he had some special skill that melted your resistance. Or maybe you just realized you married the wrong brother and actually fell in love with him? What made you have such irresistible fun with him, eh? Tell me why. Linda flopped down on the couch and tried to answer through her sobs. No. I never really loved him. I didn't even like him very much, and he was terrible in bed. Selfish. He never thought about me. Wow, Dave exclaimed quietly. So for a bad time with a man you didn't even like, you risked everything by continuing to live with him for 17 years. Just imagine how warm and comforting it is for me to know that you didn't care about me enough to go on living after a lousy pastime and never tried to end your affair. And you still can't tell me why, can you? I don't know, she shouted. I really don't know. It was really stupid and selfish. The first time was a stupid mistake after he drank too much when you weren't home. After that, he threatened to tell you if we didn't go out. I don't know. Maybe he was getting a little high from getting away with something naughty. I can't tell you why. I just don't know. So what now, Linda? Deal with it. It's over between us. Dave looked at her while she sobbed and decided it was time to ease the barrage of anger. Take a few minutes and pull yourself together. Do you want some water? Please, she said with a whimper. He pulled a bottle from the refrigerator and held it out to her. When you're ready, come to the table and we'll discuss paperwork and accommodations. Allie sat on the bed and listened to her parents exchange glances. She didn't feel like crying, but she couldn't contain herself. Their fight had broken her heart. It broke even more when she heard her father's pain. But her anger at her mother kept her angry. She and her father would live together. Her mother, on the other hand, she thought, could rot in her misery. Dave took the opportunity to go to the bathroom. He let loose the tears he didn't want Linda to see. He needed to pull himself together, harden himself, and shield himself from the feelings he still had for his wife. From now on, everything would have to happen without emotion. Dave walked out of the restroom and noticed Linda walking slowly toward the dining room. He walked in and sat down across from her. She looked up at him. Her face was puffy and her red eyes showed signs of tears and worry. He saw a sadness in her that he had hoped never to see. Her demeanor indicated utter brokenness. He was torn between enjoying her suffering and wanting to spare her pain. It pained him to see her like this. The confusion of his feelings wasn't helping either of them. It forced him to make a decision. The yelling and accusations would have to stop, at least on his part. "I'm sorry I yelled at you, Linda. I'll try to keep it together, okay?" Almost too quietly to hear, she muttered, "You can yell at me, curse me, hit me if you want to if it will allow us to stay together, but I know it won't happen." "No, it won't. Did you read the whole thing?" "Yes," she said with a final whimper. "It's all very fair, but I can't give up Allie. If she stays with me, the house will belong to me. I will give up some of the money you have offered, but please let Allie stay with me." "I can't do that, Linda. You know she and I have a special bond. And now that you've taken my family and I'm losing my best friend, do you think I can do without the person I love most in the world? It's not going to happen. I've lost everything that matters except Allie. Don't make me do this. Besides, in a few months, when she turns 16, she'll be able to make her own choices. It's foolish to try to go against her wishes now. Dave, you won't lose her. You'll still see her and be with her often. But I need to heal the hurt I've caused and rebuild our relationship. I can't do that if she's not with me. It won't work the way you think it will. In fact, I think it will have the opposite results. She only has rage for you now, and she won't be able to get over that for 5 or 6 months. Living apart will help her get over it, and we can both encourage her to let you back in. If you forcefully hold her back, you're not going to like the way things turn out." "Damn it, Dave. I'm not giving her up," Linda shouted. They didn't notice that Allie was standing around the corner listening to this conversation. She jumped out into the street and began screaming in her mother's face, calling her terrible names, pointing out every traitorous act, threatening her with every available measure. This tirade went on for more than 10 minutes. Linda kept looking away, but Allie moved to stand in front of her. At one point, Allie grabbed her chin and forced her to face the anger she wanted her mother to see. Dave wondered how long he should let her go, then walked over to Allie and hugged her gently to comfort her and pull her away from Linda. He felt relieved that she was letting him take control of herself. Linda was trying to recover from the attack and struggled not to burst into tears. Once she came to her senses, she asked, "Allie, please, I love you and need you to be with me." Allie replied in a much calmer tone, "That's not going to happen. I'm going to run to Daddy every day. And if I'm stuck here with you, I'm going to make your life miserable. Can you stand being attacked every spare minute? Daddy won't be there to tear me away from you. Do you understand, Linda?" "Linda," her mom asked, "what happened to Mom?" "Yes, that's what we all want to know, bitch." Her message was delivered, and Allie quietly returned to her room, smiling to herself, though the deep sadness brought new tears. Linda wisely decided that she couldn't stay in the same house while the divorce was going through. She didn't want to rent her own place because she was going to fight for Allie and their home, so she temporarily settled in with her sister. The divorce queue was set, and the family found themselves in court in front of Judge Stan Lawson. Judge Lawson had read both divorce petitions and had an idea of how events should unfold. He usually granted requests for counseling, but it wasn't hard to see that it wasn't going to fix this couple. An affair with the husband's brother for 17 years seemed too extreme to overcome. Thus, the only real issue remained the custody of their daughter. If conventional wisdom was to be followed, he would have preferred the mother to have custody. But the girl was close to the age where she could choose for herself. He decided to see how things played out in the courtroom. The court was convened, all preliminary matters resolved. Linda's attorney began the trial. "Your Honor, my client does not want a divorce and has offered to file a counterclaim only if reconciliation is deemed impossible. On that basis, she is asking the court to schedule counseling for a minimum of 12 sessions or until the couple reconciles." The judge knew that would be the case. "Counsel, having familiarized myself with the particulars of this case, I see no reason for counseling. It is quite clear that the reason underlying this petition for divorce makes an attempt at reconciliation through counseling a waste of time and money. The motion is denied." Linda's counsel continued. "Then, Your Honor, the main issue is custody of their daughter. My client Counsel, again recognizing that we have the facts before us, and to save time, I would like to speak with Allie Pearson in my office. We will break for lunch, and Allie, I invite you to join me and one of the court staff for a sandwich while we talk. Do you mind? Yes, Your Honor. Linda stood up and began to object. No, I should be with Mrs. Pearson. You're out of order. No, you should not and will not join our conversation. A court official will be on hand to ensure her safety and well-being. Court will recess for lunch and reconvene at 1:30 p.m. The bailiff led Allie into the judge's office, and the judge greeted her with a handshake and a welcoming smile. Hi, Allie. It's very nice to meet you. Me too, Your Honor. Though I wish my family hadn't been destroyed just so we could meet. Yes, he grinned. Look, outside of the courtroom you shouldn't be so formal. Thank you, but I think you've earned your title and not using it is wrong. That's very tactful. Well, young lady, I suppose these are difficult times for you. It's been terrible, but not like it was for my father. I suppose so. Well, let's take a look at the sandwich menu and I'll have the bailiff place an order. Then we can chat, okay? Sounds good. After the order was placed, they talked about nothing in particular so the judge could get an idea of Allie's personality and maturity. To say he was impressed with this young lady would be an understatement. After they had finished eating, the judge suggested they move on to the main topic. Allie, just so you understand, it's rare, in cases like this, that the mother doesn't get custody. How does that sound to you? Your Honor, it seems to me that this is a lazy approach to the case. It doesn't take into account everything that has happened, and it certainly doesn't fit what I want or what I think is best. Okay, fair enough. So what do you think should happen, and why? My place is with my father. It's not just an emotional response from a child. I have a lot of reasons. Would you like to elaborate? Sure, for one thing, my dad and I have always been closer than my mom. Not in a bad way. I loved my mom. Loved? Past tense? Deep down, I'm sure I still do, but the way she treated my father was very cruel. I never saw my dad cry, and now it happens all the time. She crushed him, and she crushed me too. Dad and I need each other to get over the way she betrayed us. Your mom probably needs you too. Shouldn't you take that into consideration? It's going to sound like I want revenge, but I don't. She did this. It's her fault. Besides, my father isn't the type to be left alone. I want to stay with him more than anything. Okay, is there anything else? First, I have a question. How old do I have to be to have the right to choose? 16 years old. That's what I thought. It's 3 months away. If you say I have to live with her, that means in 3 months, Dad and I will have to spend even more money to come and tell you I want to stay with him. Is that it? No. Right now, I can't contain my anger when I'm around her. I know I need to get over it and find common ground with her someday, but forcing me to stay with her so soon after what she did isn't going to make us better friends. In fact, I'll be miserable, and I think I'll make her miserable. Is that a fact? Let me be honest. I'm going to run to my father every chance I get. When I end up in the same room with her, I'll have every intention of making her realize that forcing you to make the wrong choice was a mistake. Oh, so you have plans to get back at her? I wouldn't say that, but yes. She'll realize it was a mistake. I think in less than a week she'll take me to my father herself and tell him to keep me. Care to share your plans? Not really. I see, he said with a chuckle. Just curious. Have you considered becoming a lawyer? I'm already on that path. I'll be helping out on Miss Hall's paralegal team next summer. That's good to hear, Allie. I have to say, when you take the exam, I wouldn't want to be an opposing counsel, he reflected. Why don't we get you back to your father? That depends on the circumstances. Will you allow me to stay with him? I'll make my decision soon, and then everyone will know what I've decided. I know the judge is considered wise and fair. I am counting on that very much, and I hope that in an hour I will like you as much as I do now. Are you blackmailing me? He asked with a friendly smile on his face. No, Your Honor. Just telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but. They smiled, shook hands, and parted ways. When Allie found her father, she told him that she thought everything had gone well. They would soon find out how well. When the court reconvened, the judge immediately pulled himself together. I had a very good conversation with Allie. Both parents should be very proud of this amazing little girl. She laid out her thoughts to me in a calm and professional manner, and I took them into consideration in my decision. Linda and her lawyer were discussing something, and Linda couldn't help herself. "Tell him," she said loud enough for the whole room to hear her. The judge, clearly annoyed, banged his gavel and stared at them. "Counselor, do we have a problem?" "I apologize, Your Honor. My client has made me aware of a problem that may affect your decision." "Good, let's hear him out. And it better be a good one." "Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Pearson has indicated that there is a strong possibility that Mr. David Pearson is not the biological father of her daughter. If that is the case, then it could be argued that he does not have sufficient grounds to claim custody." "Counselor, this has absolutely nothing to do with custody claims in Pennsylvania, and you should know that. However, for the benefit of Mr. and Miss Pearson, is there any evidence of that, Mrs. Pearson?" "Not yet, Your Honor." "Your Honor," her attorney interjected, "we move for a stay of proceedings pending the DNA test and analysis." Dave turned and saw that Allie answered him with a knowing smile. His attorney stood up to respond. "Your Honor, anticipating Mrs. Pearson's tactics, we have the results of a DNA test conducted by an accredited laboratory. The results are certified and accompanied by a properly certified and notarized affidavit from the agency that conducted the analysis." He handed copies to the court officer and Linda's attorney, then continued. "As you can see, the results prove conclusively that Mr. David Pearson and Miss Allegra Pearson, or Allie, as she is also known, are father and daughter." "Very good, Counselor Hall. That's interesting, and I'm sure will bring relief to the father and daughter. In any case, based on the laws of this state, the motion for continuance and scheduling of the DNA test is denied." Linda was crying, and her attorney was trying to comfort her. Judge Lawson continued. "Now, as I said, although it is customary to award primary custody to the mother, I believe it would be best for all parties to grant Miss Pearson's wishes and accept the petition filed by Mr. Pearson. Mrs. Pearson and Allie, it pains me to see mother and daughter estranged from each other, and this whole proceeding for the dissolution of a happy marriage hurts me more than I can express." He paused and took a deep breath. "The petition for divorce filed by Mr. Pearson has been granted. You should both receive a final judgment within 6 to 8 weeks. At this point, I wish you three the best of luck. Court is adjourned." Allie rushed to her father and clung to him with all her might. As they began to walk out, Linda walked up to them with fire in her eyes. "Well, you've won. I hope you're happy now," she said reproachfully to Dave, as if she expected him to gloat. He turned and replied softly, "What are you turning into, Linda? No one won here tonight. It's a defeat for all three of us. Go home, and we'll discuss the details in a few days." She collapsed on the bench in the courtroom while her lawyer tried to comfort her. She muttered quietly, "But I love you. This isn't right." Dave heard her, but chose to keep walking as he and Allie snuggled together. In the weeks that followed, all the terrible consequences caused by Rich and Linda's foolish choice were overcome. Rich pleaded guilty to avoid a trial, fines, and potentially a lengthy prison sentence. He had to disclose all of his hidden bank accounts and safe deposit boxes, and he agreed to spend 8 years in federal prison. Linda got an acceptable position with a company 25 miles from home and bought a townhouse there with funds provided by Dave. It was the perfect place for her. She was close enough to see Allie, but far enough away to avoid seeing former friends who found her presence unwelcome. It was the fresh start she needed. Dave set about restructuring the company. Debbie quickly became a shining star in sales, increasing her customer base through a large number of large orders from new clients. Even more amazingly, she retained almost all of the clients Dave expected to lose due to the bribery scandal. Tammy had also become Debbie's perfect teammate, keeping the back-end support team running smoothly. Dave knew that he would have to expand the sales team when his distribution business fully spun up, and Debbie was the perfect candidate to lead the entire sales team. When it came to female companionship, Dave showed little interest, although he was inundated with offers from both friends and his loving daughter. Unmarried ladies from church seemed to be lining up to get to the highly desirable bachelor. He missed Linda's companionship more than he expected, but he wasn't going to rush things. In those weak moments when he allowed himself to reflect on his choices, only one woman occupied his thoughts: On Wednesday morning, months after the judge's ruling, Hannah walked into Dave's office with the morning mail. "Hey, boss. Looks like the divorce papers came in." He opened the envelope and familiarized himself with its contents. "Yeah, looks like Judge Lawson was accurate. It's been 7 weeks now. Looks like I'm a free man." "How do you feel about that?" Dave pondered his emotions before answering her question. "I think it's a real mix of feelings. Sadness and happiness, relief and anxiety. If you put all of my feelings together, you wouldn't get one. The one I feel the most is a sense of anticipation. What Linda and I had was special. Now that it's gone, I want to find that special again. Do you know what I mean?" "Yes, I do," she replied with a half smile, wondering if it was time. Turning to leave, she hesitated at the door and slowly closed it. Still with her back to the door, as if afraid to see his reaction, she said quietly, "Dave, I want something special too. I need to confess something I've been afraid to say, but here it is. I love you. I started loving you the day you interviewed me. You and Linda kept trying to convince me to find someone, but I needed someone untouchable or at least unavailable. You don't have to say anything now, but if you're interested, just ask me out when you're ready. I already know my answer will be yes." She didn't notice Dave move silently right behind her back. As soon as she finished her confession, he gently put his arms around her, kissed her neck, and whispered the words she wanted to hear. "Dinner tonight?" Still in his arms, she turned to see his bright smile and the sparkle in his eyes. "My place at 6, she suggested. "I'll cook." Her face lit up with a wide smile. "And wear something casual." The bottle of wine and the marvelous lasagna disappeared, as if dinner were something secondary. The newfound lovers couldn't wait to see their deep friendship blossom. It didn't take long for it to blossom. Unable to hold back any longer, Hannah whispered in his ear, "I want to be with you." Dave smiled and whispered back, "I can think of lots of excuses. With, at, under, in, for." She pulled away and looked at him with loving mischief in her eyes. "Look, mister, I want lots of excuses, clauses and all. And I want them now," she exclaimed with a note of playful desperation. He wanted only one thing, to take her to the bedroom and spend the evening there. Next chapter. For the next 2 weeks, Dave and Hannah were together every night. After a romantic dinner at Hannah's house, they would sit together. Dave was sure of what he wanted, and the timing was right. Dave whispered in her ear, "I think it's time." Without another word, he lifted her off the couch and carried her into the bedroom. Dave's thoughts and dreams began to come into perfect harmony, and he saw his world becoming even better than he had hoped. A few minutes passed before Dave shared his thoughts. "Hannah, all my hesitation is gone. I'm ready to let my feelings come out. Over the past weeks, I have found that spark and chemistry I knew we would have together. I feel like my heart has unclenched, and I can say I love you with all my soul. If you say yes, I never want it to end." She rolled over on top of him and put her sword away in its scabbard. "Will that answer you? You have me, and I have you. If you're absolutely certain this isn't a fracture for you, then I want us to never part. Walking will be a little difficult, but I'm ready." "Smartass," she exclaimed playfully. "You know what I mean." "Yeah, I do. I think my friends will tell us to take it slow, given everything that's happened lately, but I don't care what they think." "It might seem fast to you," she said. "To me, it was something I had to live with for 7 years." "Well, I know we were both worried that things would go back to the way they were, but I felt it was the right thing to do." Later, they drifted into slumber. Hannah, Dave, and Allie's home was filled with joy. 6 months after their first date, they were married in their church. In keeping with their character, the informal reception was a pig roast in the spacious backyard. With 200 guests, a pool and other entertainment gave the children something to do. For the adults, a large marquee with a dance floor and bar was set up. A small band provided the music. There was plenty to celebrate. As expected, some family members and friends expressed surprise at how quickly they had decided to get married, especially as Hannah was 8 years younger than Dave. The explanation was simple. They quickly realized they had found the right partner. Plus, Hannah was 3 months pregnant, and she and Dave were only in their 30s and planning to have many more children. As the party was winding down, a familiar face appeared in the backyard. "Oh, look," Hannah said to Dave. "Linda's here. Let me go greet her." Both women weren't entirely sure how their visit would turn out. Hannah's fears were quickly dispelled when Linda smiled and hugged her friend. Congratulations, Hannah. It sounds like a terrific holiday. Well, you know Dave and his pork roast. How about you? You look great. I'm still working on myself, but I'm much better now than I was 7 or 8 months ago. Look, I want you to know that I think it's great that you and Dave found each other. Please believe that I wish you nothing but the best. You're two of my favorite people. Dave joined them and hugged Linda warmly. Hi, Linda. Really glad you came, but I was hoping you'd come a little earlier. I thought about it, but I didn't want to be a pesky ex taking attention away from you two. As I told your lovely new wife, I'm very happy for you both. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, are you ready for Allie to spend 3 weeks with you while we go on our honeymoon? I'm looking forward to it. I hope she won't be too scared. Don't tell her I said that, but she's looking forward to being with you while we're away. I think she feels guilty about some of her actions and words, but I told her that strong emotions need to be let out if she's going to overcome them. You two will be fine, so are you going to go meet my emotional support animal? What, you still have Banjo, right? Of course. He'll be with Allie when she stays with you. Then what is an emotional support animal? Oh, it's a pig. He's roasted, of course, but he gives me positive vibes. Come and get a plate. Any threat of tension vanished when Hannah and Linda laughed as they threatened to throw Dave into the pool. No two divorces or breakups are the same. People don't react in the same script when something bad happens. After learning of Linda's infidelity, Dave couldn't imagine ever finding joy in his life again. Allie grieved the breakup of her loving family. At the same time, Hannah felt doomed to either live without love or settle for something or someone less than she wanted. All of them were broken. But in the end, Dave, Hannah, and Allie found more joy than they had before everything fell apart. With all their hearts, they wished the same for Linda and Sonia. Time would tell. Epilogue, 10 years later. The pastor asked the congregation, "Who gave this woman the right to marry?" Dave answered clearly and firmly, "Her mother and me." He then took Allie's hand and passed it to the groom, Nathan Lawson, grandson of Judge Stanley Lawson. Dave turned to take a seat next to Hannah, who was shedding happy wedding tears. Sitting next to them were Linda and her fiancé. Hannah and Linda were good friends again, and Dave kept his distance from his ex-wife. At least he no longer felt the need to isolate himself from Linda. His love for Hannah and their 3 children more than healed the anger and resentment. Hannah whispered to him as he sat down, "Mothers plural. Nice move, Mr. Pearson." He looked back at the wedding party and smiled proudly at his 10-year-old daughter, Sarah, who was his sister's maid of honor. His youngest daughter, Jenna, was a flower girl, and Dave Jr., now 3 years old, was a ring bearer. True to his contemplative nature, he basked in the glow of a heart filled with love and pride. A prayer of gratitude burst from his soul. Allie graduated from Temple University Law School, top of her class. It was also where she met and fell in love with Nate. While they were dating, her father and Judge Lawson became close friends, so the blending of families couldn't have been easier. Nate focused on criminal law and moved to Bill Hardwick's office while Allie prioritized family law and became a new member of Angela Hall's team. The changes Dave has made to his business have been more successful than he anticipated. In his 48th year, Dave and Hannah planned to retire when he turned 55. He was by no means a billionaire, but his stock portfolio and excellent financial planning made this goal easily achievable. Sonia married a terrific guy who managed the eastern territory of the large pump company that Dave's business represented. In addition to the 2 boys Sonia had with Rich, the couple now had a little girl who had just turned 4. Dave's parents had already retired and, enjoying good health, had moved on to outdoor activities. This included them passing on Sunday family dinners to Dave and Hannah. One Sunday, about 3 months after Allie's wedding, Dave's father pulled him aside after the meal. "Son, I know I made you a promise, but this time I'm going to break it. Rich is leaving next week, and he'd like to see you and the rest of the family before he goes. Can he come over this afternoon?" "Actually, I've been thinking about contacting him since he got out of prison. I heard he joined a missionary group or something." "Yes, they help poor villages, build schools, and so on. He's going to Tanzania and will be on the team as a water purification specialist." How did he get involved with them while in prison? He's grateful to his cellmate for really turning his life around. He got close to the prison ministry team and asked them to help him find a ministry he could join upon his release. After learning about his abilities and background, they sprang into action. He studied Swahili and, from what I understand, spoke it fluently. He was also allowed to take many required courses while serving his sentence so that he would be ready for work upon release. After his release, he spent several months completing his training and collecting monthly aid. He can visit us, but Sonia and her family might not react well. He's already visited them a few times. They're fine. God, Sonia never told me. You're blaming her? You made it clear you wanted nothing to do with him. Yeah, I guess you're right. So what do you think of your brother at this point? What he was doing seemed to be aimed right at me, Dad. Maybe he didn't mean it that way, but it seemed that way to me. The moment it all came crashing down, I remember thinking it would have been kinder of him to just put a bullet in me. He had infringed on almost everything that mattered to me. If it hadn't been for Allie, I don't know what I would have done. Yeah, you two knew how to stick together. Yeah, thank God. Son, you mentioned that Rich seemed to be targeting you. I don't think that was his primary motivation, but on a subconscious level, I think you might be right. He and I had a strange but interesting conversation the day he was released. He apologized, and I believe he was sincere, but then he said something that really struck me. He said that he never felt like he was part of our family, and that you were always the perfect son that he could never compare to. Your mom and I were racking our brains trying to figure out why he felt that way. You guys have never held me up as an example or done me any favors. I don't get it. He admitted it himself. He said it was all on his conscience. He knew you were a better student and had talents he didn't have, so he drew conclusions that weren't true. He realizes that now. I think I owe it to him and myself to talk to him and clear the air. Thank you, son. I knew you would understand it that way. Dad, you know I usually spend a lot of time thinking. Like during your half-hour morning visits to the restroom? Okay, smartass, Dave replied, and they laughed. Like I said, a few nights ago I sat alone on the back porch while Hannah put the kids to bed. The air was cool and the smells from the flower garden put me in a wonderful state of mind as I watched the sun set behind the trees. I felt an overpowering joy and peace as I thought about how things had turned out after the confusion of 10 years ago. Sonia has remarried a good man and couldn't be happier. She's doing a great job raising her boys, and her new husband is a huge influence on her. The money Rich stole was found and returned. I thought he had destroyed my client base, but instead I found some real stars to take his place. It also forced me to restructure the business, which greatly improved its growth and bottom line. The restructuring of distribution also led to Sony having a new husband. So what are you saying? Dad, I never thought it could be like this, but it turns out that what Rich did was a huge blessing. Dad noticed he hadn't mentioned something important. But your marriage was ruined, son. You and Linda were the perfect couple. Don't you think it was a tragic end to a beautiful love story? Of course it was, Dad. But look at Hannah. I'm madly in love with her. I love everything about her. I wouldn't give her up or trade her for anything, including what Linda and I had. You love her more than Linda? More than I do? How can I appreciate that without running my feelings through the filters of all the crap that's happened? Sure, I still have feelings for Linda, but I'll never feel the same way I did 15 years ago. The main thing is that I have feelings for Hannah that are at least as strong as Linda's. But I've decided to give myself and all my love to Hannah. That's good to hear, but you never answered my question. About Rich? Yes, how do you feel about him? Everything I said about how things turned out applies to how I feel about Rich. I hate what he did, but the way things turned out gives me reason to be grateful. He paid with more than 8 years of his life, so I have no anger or desire for revenge. It's similar to how I feel about Linda. Do I love him? Of course I do. He's my brother. If he needed a kidney or something, I'd help him. But I'll never be able to trust him or care for him the way I did 15 years ago. I think I understand you, son. I have to say, your attitude about everything that's happened is heartening. I'm not sure I would have had the courage to find the positives in it like you did. Think of everyone involved. Sonia is in a better position now. My business is thriving. My marriage to Hannah and our 3 children are a joy beyond anything I've ever had. Even Rich has matured and returned to his faith because of the prison experience. He has found a better version of himself. Linda, as sad as it is to admit, is probably the only one who didn't come out of prison in a better situation. Allie tells me she's happy, but still pines for the life we had together. Son, you're a goddamn Pollyanna, you know that. Is that a bad thing? No, but I can't forget how broken you were. Yeah, I was. But it occurred to me during one of my contemplation sessions that what Rich did was like taking my precious china and smashing it on the floor. God, in His mercy, helped me pick it up and put together a new mosaic from the pieces, even more beautiful and precious. So you mean to say that what was broken is now better than ever? Exactly. But not only better, Dad. It's so much better for me. The end. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel and watch for the next video.